Welcome to Velocity, the Vista Chamber podcast. I'm your host, Vista Chamber CEO Rachel Beld, and it's my privilege to interview the movers, shakers, and change makers impacting the Vista community and beyond. I'm excited to sit down with my guest, Jason Roberts, today. Jason is co-founder and CEO of Frontline Careers, a social impact startup on a mission to connect frontline employees looking for more with companies that offer more. The startup's proprietary frontline-friendly assessment and certification process enables frontline job seekers, customers, and investors to better identify those companies that truly value and invest in their frontline staff. In addition, Frontline Careers offers a job site exclusive only to companies offering benefits and perks beyond pay to their frontline employees. Prior to launching Frontline Careers, Jason spent nearly 20 years in leadership roles across multiple industries, from manufacturing and business consulting to wholesale energy and waste management. In fact, his last experience in corporate America running large-scale frontline operations was the genesis behind Frontline Careers. Jason's a proud Cali Texan husband. His wife, Ty, is also one of the co-founders and father of 3 amazing kiddos. He loves the outdoors, doing what he can to defy father time, and playing games with the family, at least most of the time. So welcome, Jason. So glad to have you here today.
So glad to be here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me. Before we got started, we'd had a little powwow about board games.
Board games, yeah.
And so I think that maybe if our families had like a board game showdown, it might get a little heated.
It sounds like you and your family are probably the few people on the planet who would step into my house during family game night and not think that we're insane.
No, we would.
We got a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
It sounds like it can get pretty intense. You know what I mean?
But it's fun.
Yeah.
I think a healthy competition in the family unit with games is, there's lessons learned that can be applied in real life too there.
Exactly. As long as you're talking to each other the next day.
Yes, absolutely. Nobody's too mad for too long.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. All right. So I need to know more about this experience that kind of created Frontline Careers in your mind. So tell me about what happened. What was kind of that turning point that happened in corporate America that really led you to think, there's something here?
Yeah, I think it's really not just one thing. It's kind of a combination of things that happen kind of in rapid succession. Entering the workforce post-college, it was about, kind of progressing in your career, getting increasing levels of responsibility and scope, and of course, pay and compensation, those kinds of things. But I started to get to that point where you start to realize that money isn't everything, and you want something and you want more from your work, right? It wasn't necessarily fulfilling. So that was something that was just continuing to nag at me. And I caught the entrepreneurial bug when I was in business school. I was always trying to pencil businesses that would work, and I couldn't find anything that would really work out that something I could get behind, right? So that was always kind of in the background too, this entrepreneurial bug. And then so something happened on the personal front, and I'm more open with it now, but having a stroke at an early age, that really kind of said, okay, I've got to change my lifestyle here, and I've got to find work that's meaningful for me so that I feel good getting up every morning, because that weighs on you. And so I think those things combine to ultimately saying, I've got to do something different. All right. So after that stroke, literally I'm sitting there maybe 6 months later, and I'm in this big conference, symposium, whatever you want to call it. And Mike Rowe is speaking.
Oh, wow.
Dirty Jobs guy, right? So
he's great.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a fantastic speaker, but he gets it. He gets it. So he's talking to this room full of business leaders saying that basically we've gotten it all wrong. We've put in too much emphasis on college degrees and not enough emphasis on skilled trades. In essence, talking about these frontline roles, how they're critical to all of our businesses, but we're not investing enough in them. And by this time, I had seen that firsthand working on the front lines, leading frontline operations. And I had noticed a common theme was, here are folks who are in many ways loyal to a fault, working extremely hard, extremely talented, very motivated. And I saw with an ounce of investment how that turned into so much more. And the thought dawned on me after hearing him talk, why not help those men and women who are working tirelessly on the front lines connect them with opportunities at companies that understand their value and their worth and help them grow too. Because I could also see how that's a win-win scenario, right? But oftentimes businesses don't look at it that way. It's seen as kind of a zero-sum game. If I give more to my staff, that's taking more from the bottom line, when it's not true. And that was my experience, and that's what I saw. So hearing him speak, I got the idea, and like my first call was to Ty.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, "Hey, babe, I got it. This is the idea." The second call was to Ari, who you've met, my other co-founder, and we started the business. Actually, we waited a little bit to actually get all the affairs in order. So we launched beginning of 2020, and then, as you know, COVID hit. So that kind of, created a little bit of dead period for the business, especially a business that's catered around helping companies find and attract frontline, highly motivated frontline employees. And on the flip side, you're helping frontline job seekers find the best companies. Well, no one's really hiring during that period of time, right? So that was a little bit of a setback, but ultimately, we are in a much better place today and happy about where we are and actually poised for, I think, some really good growth going forward.
That's great. That's great. So one thing that you talked about and made me just think about how the work that we do is such an important part of who we are as humans. Yeah. I mean, we spend so many hours working that, the dream is that the work you do is fulfilling. The work that you do is fulfilling. You make a difference in your community. And I don't know anybody. I really have never met one person who says, "Nah, I don't care what I do. I just want a paycheck." I really don't think there's really very many people who feel that way. So I think that's great that you were realizing that, you were maybe in a grind that wasn't super fulfilling and you wanted to find a way to connect those dots for yourself, but also for other people. And then the other thing that just came to mind while you're talking about that is, during COVID, it's kind of interesting how you were starting your business, then COVID hit. And during COVID, there was such this importance on these essential workers, these frontline workers. They saved all of us during COVID. Yes. They did. And they were the heroes. Let's celebrate these frontline workers. Let's celebrate these folks. And now, fast forward a few years, a lot of that dialogue has sort of gone away. And I really appreciate that your company is saying, "Hey guys, these folks are important." Yeah. And not just they're important, we should take care of them because we it's the right human thing to do, but it's also really good for your bottom line too, to take care of these folks. So that's really awesome. That's great. Thank you for telling me about that. So tell me a little bit more about specifically the services that you provide. I know you have the job seeker piece and then the business piece. So tell me about the business piece a little bit.
So like you mentioned at the very beginning, we have our what we call proprietary. I mean, we've developed it in-house, but it's our frontline friendly assessment.
Okay.
So what that means is we will come into a business, okay, and we will anonymously survey the frontline employees. So that includes the managers, frontline managers, and staff, but that's it. So we want to get, at the end of the day, we want to get their perspective on what it's like to work at a particular place of business. Okay. And then based on their feedback, we then slice and dice those results across our different dimensions. We have 8 dimensions that we look at the results. Things like career advancement, which is feedback we got is really important. Fairness and equity is really important. Supportive culture is really important. There's a specific one we carve out, frontline management, which is critical in my experience and others to the success of any business, and really critical to delivering that kind of that employee experience at the front line. The frontline management is a key category, part of our assessment, what we look at. But based on those results, which is directly from the voice of the frontline staff, we then determine, is this really a good place for a frontline employee to build a career, right? Do they really, like you start off with, value and invest in their folks? And so then based on that, if they meet that cutoff, then they are certified as a frontline friendly business.
Okay.
So the primary service we offer is these frontline friendly assessments.
Okay.
Which can lead to certification. Doesn't always, but it can lead to certification. Now, the beauty for businesses in this, even if you don't, obviously there's some pretty obvious benefits for being a certified company.
Right.
You can go out and you can market that to job seekers. Hey, you want to come and work for a place, don't listen to me as the owner. Don't just go based off of a job description where anybody can say anything. Listen to your fellow frontline staff, right? Your fellow frontline colleagues. They are saying this is a place where you want to come and work.
Right.
Right. So there's obvious benefits to certification, right? Just in that regard. But let's say if you don't get certified, you're still going to get very detailed analysis and reporting on what your employees said, why you didn't, ultimately reach that or earn the certification. But now you armed with information on what you need to do to continue to improve your work environment and what we say, move along that frontline friendly spectrum.
Right.
So the very first of our service and core of our business is our frontline friendly assessment.
Okay.
And certification with that. Secondarily, we also have a job site, kind of a tangential job site, where we feature jobs that are offering more than just pay. So a certain combination of certain types of benefits. But if you are a frontline friendly certified company, you are featured on that job site.
Okay.
Too, So really our core services are assessment and kind of job postings on our exclusive job site.
Cool. And so, if you're running a business or you're running an organization, I'm the CEO of the chamber, we're a nonprofit organization, but we're a business, we operate, and we have employees. So many times as the top person, you wonder, are my employees happy?
Yes.
Do they like it here? If I ask them, are they going to tell me the truth? I sit down with my employees weekly. Each of my team members, we have a one-on-one, and I'm constantly asking them, how are things going? Are you happy here?
That's
Do you feel like you're growing?
Yeah.
But I don't know if they tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, I think they do, but it's great to know that there's an opportunity for folks to find out and get some honest feedback about how they're doing as a leader of an organization, not just the person, but how the organization works, the culture of the organization. Are your policies appropriate? Is the pay meeting people's needs? Because what you don't want to do is that you find out the hard way, and that's when people quit. Yeah. Right? When people leave in mass, typically. And so that's what you want to avoid. So I think that's great that you're able to, again, the certification is, like you said, the goal, but really the value of the feedback of the assessment process sounds really valuable.
And you get it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
I don't want to, but I don't want to make light of what you just said, right? Because there absolutely are folks that don't want to know, right? I can tell you stories where I remember once, big corporate environment, and I asked a question to someone who was in charge of field, human resource, and said, why did we stop with these employee engagement surveys? Why we haven't done those in a long time? Well, the problem is if we, based on the feedback, then you have to act on it.
Right.
So let's not do that, because then we have the responsibility of following up. So I don't want to make light of the fact that you want to know.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of business owners who want to know, but then there are still some that just don't, right? I'd rather not know. This is how we're going to run our business, because then the second piece of that is turnover is just necessary. It's just part of what we do, right? We lose people. Okay, next person up. When there's so many flawed ways of looking at that, because there's a huge cost of turnover.
It's so short-sighted to me.
It's very short-sighted. But there are business owners who fall in that category. I believe that they are the minority. I absolutely believe that. I know that to be the case. So we want to highlight the businesses that aren't in that minority, right? That think very much like you do, that want to know. And even if they aren't already there, say they're not meeting their criteria to be a frontline friendly certified business, they want to be there.
Right.
Because ultimately it starts with wanting to know and identifying where you're at. That's where the assessment gets you. And then from there, taking the necessary steps to ultimately end up becoming a certified business. So
when you talk about frontline workers, what does that mean? Like, who would be included? Does that include people in office jobs? Does it include professional services? Like, tell me what kind of categories does that include? So the definition, I like how you started out with talking about essential workers and COVID and things like that, because sometimes they get mixed up. So if you look at the definition of what essential worker is, it's really tied to what is an essential industry. Right. So an essential industry is, agriculture, defense, utilities, construction, water,
wastewater, those types of industries, grocery, food and beverage, those types of things. Those are essential industries. So you can be a person who is, say, VP of marketing working in one of those businesses because you're tied to the industry. You're an essential worker.
Okay.
Okay. So frontline worker, though, is a subset of essential workers.
Okay.
Those who must be present to do their jobs. Okay.
So it's not remote work.
Not remote work.
They are on the front line engaging with a customer or a coworker or some sort of person.
Exactly.
Okay.
So think someone who's working stocking shelves at a grocery store.
Okay.
Or a pharmacy tech, right? It's hard to be a pharmacy tech if you're not at the pharmacy giving guidance right there at the pharmacy, checkout. So think of or if you're a waste driver, I can't pick up trash or recycling remote. I have to be there.
Right.
To process packaging in a warehouse. I can't do that from my home. I have to be there. So when we say frontline workers, we're talking about the men and women who must be present to do their jobs, whether that's running a forklift or whether that is delivering a package. These are individuals who cannot work from home. Now, we have expanded that definition to also include other hourly positions, because these are typically hourly positions that are often overlooked and undervalued.
Okay.
So to your other point around, if there's a desk job or something like that, or maybe someone's in billing, there are now operations who are set up where you can do some of the billing things remote, but they're typically, again, hourly positions, call center positions that are hourly, but these are still positions that are often overlooked and undervalued, and we didn't want those to get left behind.
Yeah.
So we also include those in our definition.
So tell me now about the job seekers. What opportunities are there for employees and job seekers as far as your services? That's the website?
That's the website. So,
okay.
So from a job seeker perspective, we like to talk about trust, truth, and kind of transparency, kind of like these 3 T's. Because what's missing today, and one of the things I noticed in my prior work experiences, is that you have folks who, again, going back to what I mentioned, very talented, right? And, when you start having career conversations with people and you're starting to feel like you've got these skills, you need to address these gaps, but you've got a lot of potential, right? Or you talk to other folks who are frustrated that they haven't moved within an organization, but why do they stay, right? And the what I was really running into a lot is people stay because they are unclear of the other opportunities, or they question, is the grass really greener? So the transparency piece that we're trying to provide for the job seeker is that we're going to take the guessing game out of it. Because now you can't trust a job description. You can't trust, a tagline that you see on some billboard or you see on some promotion on Instagram or something like that. You can't trust that. What you can trust is the anonymous feedback of the current employees. That is true transparency, right? So this isn't someone, saying, hey, we're going to certify ourselves that we are this, right? No, it's not the company who's saying who they are. It's the employees of frontline staff. So that's one of the services we're providing, right? Is that transparency, which is kind of the truth behind the scenes of an organization, to give you that added confidence that if I'm going to make this move, I do have opportunities that await me. And that's where the job site comes in. So it's kind of twofold.
Yeah.
With the certification, you get this big badge, right? You probably saw it with Little Cakes, and I'll talk about them later. You got this big badge that says, hey, we're a Frontline Friendly certified company. So that means something. We're new, so we're building up that brand, right? But our expectation is over time, that brand becomes synonymous with, this is a really good place. If you're a frontline employee, this is where you want to work.
There's weight behind it.
There's weight behind it.
Yeah.
And then
it means something.
It means something. But with our job site too, as we start to add more and more jobs to that job site, make it easier for you to filter through not just the ones who are, again, there's a cost to enter, right? And it's not dollars. Most job site is just dollars. You go to Indeed, it's like all this stuff out here. But at the end of the day, we know and strongly believe that folks want more than just pay, right? So they want to know what will this job offer me? A lot of these job sites today are very employer-centric. Ours is not employer-centric. It's going to be job seeker-centric. So already it's not just who pays cost for a job posting. It's not what we look at. It's what are the benefits and perks you're offering to your frontline employees? What does this job offer, right?
Yeah.
Beyond just pay. So that helps them too. So I don't have to sort through all this madness. And then I can more easily identify those that are the certified competence because they will be featured on that same job site. So it just makes the job search a lot easier in knowing who really does offer long-term opportunity. Because in my experience, that's the trepidation that people have, the hesitation that they have, making a move sometimes, right? Or getting off the bench. There's a lot of people say, hey, where are all the workers? Well, they don't want to go back to the same stuff.
Right.
We want to highlight how you're different from other businesses and because you do take care of your folks.
What kinds of things, like, can you give me any examples of benefits that people are looking for these days besides pay?
Yeah. Right now, right? If you're following one of the things that's happening with the rail strike, right?
Yes.
What's one of the big things? One of the big
Sick
benefits.
pay.
Right.
Right.
Sick pay, paid training. Training is huge. It is huge.
Because you want to invest in yourself.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not very costly. That's it. But if you show, and I had this conversation with the business owner not too long ago, if you show that ounce of investment, it will pay dividends. Mm-hmm. Sometimes too, it's just providing candid feedback. You'll be surprised. A lot of places don't have very simple processes in place to provide consistent feedback. And it's not always has to be formal. I'm a firm believer in informal feedback.
Right.
But having that kind of quote unquote feedback as part of the assessment process can be extremely telling for businesses. So it's not always just benefits and perks like tangible things like paid sick leave, training, childcare, those types of things.
Flexible schedules.
Is huge. There was one place, love to get them as a customer, but because I always do this mystery shopping.
Yes.
And in a way, when I go to different places, I'm always talking with the frontline staff, right? And I was talking with a young man at this particular place. A lot of the folks I spoke with, they just spoke glowingly of this place of business. It's a winery in Temecula. And the common theme is family oriented. And one of the things he mentioned, I used to be in construction, okay? And if I wanted to take a day off, it was like an act of Congress to make it happen. And then I was made to feel bad if I did take that day off. Here, I don't have any issues. Talk to someone else, similar story. She had a sick aunt, but they were asking her while she was out, is there anything we can do to help?
Yeah.
The thing is, here in Vista, I've talked with a number of different business owners that kind of share that same kind of mindset, right? That treat people as people. So it's more than just those tangible benefits like paid sick leave and those. It's about the things that we measure with the assessment. The supportive environment is so...
Things you feel.
Yeah. That make you feel good about getting up in the morning and going to work. Right?
Being on a team where you're lifting each other up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he talked about, in this one gentleman talked about how, they paid for him if he wanted to go take a winemaking class or some. It's a wine, not winemaking, but something dealing with wine at the local community college, right? They would pay for that, right? And he got to participate in harvest. Those kinds of things, it was exciting to him. Maybe not making as much, but he felt a lot more at home there. So you won't get that just by saying, hey, do you offer this benefit or offer that benefit? It's good, absolutely, if you're offering that and others don't. But it's about the work environment.
Right.
At J&R Auto Body and Paint, you don't have to worry about a thing. From minor dents and dings to major collision repair, we offer a worry, hassle-free experience with superior customer service. Our auto claim advisors work directly with your insurance company, so you don't have to deal with the headaches. Our certified technicians work on all makes and models to get your repair done right the first time. We stand behind our work with a lifetime warranty. Locally and family-owned, J&R Auto Body is here to serve the community. Call us today at 760-724-4923.
Hi, it's Carrie from Solitube Home in Vista, California. If you're looking for ways to brighten and cool your home, we are your natural light and fresh air experts. We offer a selection of daylighting and ventilation products to help make your home beautiful and comfortable. And the best part of all is you won't be using any electricity to brighten up. We can bring beautiful, natural light into those dark spaces in your home transforming them into beautifully lit spaces in less than 2 hours. No mess, no fuss, just amazing natural light to make your home look and feel great. If you're looking to cool off your home, we have a complete line of ventilation products to keep your home and garage cool. We want to make cooling and refreshing your home easier and more energy efficient than ever with our line of whole house fans, solar attic fans, and garage fans. Our certified installers carry the full line of Solitube daylighting and ventilation products on their vans at all times. Installation can usually be done in about 2 hours. No messy drywall, paint repair, structural changes, or re-roofing needed. It's pretty much the easiest home improvement project you'll ever take on. At Solitube Home, we offer no obligation appointments throughout Southern California. Visit our website at solitubehome.com or stop by our showroom conveniently located in Vista at 2210 Oak Ridge Drive, or give us a call, 619-375-1629. We look forward to brightening your day.
For more than 60 years, Tri-City Medical Center has been committed to advancing the health and wellness of the community we serve. With leading-edge emergency care, including top-rated heart and stroke programs, advanced orthopedics, primary care, obstetrics, and neonatal care, Tri-City stands at the ready when you need us most. Learn more at tricitymed.org.
So you mentioned the rail strike a minute ago, and actually was thinking about, recently we've been hearing in the news about unionization of companies like Starbucks and Amazon and some of these other larger companies. Do you think that that's a shift, that's happening because of a shift in employee demands? I mean, it used to be that the employer was really in charge. They set the wage, they set the hours, they set your schedule, they set this, they set how much vacation you get. Yeah. And now it feels like employees have more power, right?
Absolutely.
But we've had unionization for decades and, hundreds of years maybe. So what do you, maybe 100 years, what do you think that says about the culture where we are, that these larger companies there's more talk around unionization? Do you think, how do you think that plays into this?
I think, the pendulum has absolutely swung for the employee here. Yeah, and I think there's a number of different things at play. So maybe just take us, rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID. So back in like August of the prior year, that'd be like 2019, the Business Roundtable, heard of the Business Roundtable, right? That has a collection of these CEOs from these, Fortune 500 companies, blah, 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 updated the stated purpose of a corporation to now include basically taking care of employees and the communities that they serve.
Great.
Not just
commerce.
Profit,
yeah.
Not just to generate a profit for shareholders, right? That was a big, big deal that didn't get enough play. But why did the Business Roundtable feel the need to make that change to the stated purpose of a corporation?
Employees were demanding it.
Right. And they could see, hey, if we don't change something here, we're going to have problems, okay? Nobody anticipated that within 6 months, you'd have this massive global pandemic going on, okay? And going back to what you just said, now, on top of that, workers are feeling the strain. They're holding everything up and starting to see, wow, what would this place be like without me? Okay? I'm starting to see the glaring disparity that happens with, I'm here, yet my executives are at home. I'm putting myself in harm's way, yet they're there. I'm getting paid this, they're getting paid 1,000 times my salary, right? Or my hourly wage on an annualized basis, right? So people started to see the disparity, but also at the same time realize their value. So I think what's happened is, to give a credit to business, I think business recognized that there was a need to start to do something. And that recognition happened prior to COVID. But unfortunately, maybe the timeline that they thought to have to do that, and they did that to give themselves some air cover from the investment community. Look, we've got to start investing in our people. And so if you see that on our bottom lines having an impact, here's why. Because we're going to start having challenges. COVID accelerated. No one really, I think, anticipated that it would swing that hard, that fast. But that's because of COVID. So what you're seeing right now, absolutely. The unionization you're seeing right now, I think we would not have been here had it not been for COVID. But I think that pandemic has forced people to realize and take that step back, just like I did. Like, I need work that's fulfilling. I want to go into a work environment where I feel valued. Everybody wants that. And frankly, everybody deserves that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think that what we're seeing now is just a recognition that I deserve more, right? And no more is it that here's what I have to offer, take it or leave it. People say, I'll leave it.
Right.
I will leave it. I also believe, and I'm sure I'm going to get probably some pushback on this. I'm a believer that at the end of the day, if you treated your people well, why would you need to unionize? Right?
My next question was going to ask you, is unionization even necessary?
No. If you take care of your people, okay? If I walk into work, I feel good about the work that I'm doing. My management is supporting me in that effort. I feel like I'm growing. Not only am I going to deliver great customer experiences, but I'm going to have a good employee experience. Right? If I feel like we've got a relationship where you come to me for advice on what we need to do, because you recognize that
that
I know
Yeah.
tons of stuff that you don't know as a higher up in an organization. The people who know what's really happening in your business are the frontline folks. You don't want to mess around with that, right? Because they know what you need to do as a business. And the smart and the savvy business owners get that, right? Or company leaders get that, and they tap into that. So if you have that kind of relationship where you're coming to me and I'm volunteering that information, I see it being used, I feel like I've got a share of the ownership in this company, whether or not that's real or not. Hats off to the actual employee-owned businesses out there. I mean, that's fantastic. But if not, if I feel a sense of ownership because I'm being listened to, I'm being valued, I'm being invested in, whether that's through training and through my compensation, why would I unionize, right? I'm happy with where I'm at. So I believe that absolutely it's necessary in today's world because there are environments where people are absolutely taken advantage of. And what you're seeing is a very hard swing of that pendulum, saying, you know what? COVID has helped us realize we are important. We have a very valuable service that we perform, and we demand and we deserve more.
Yeah. We just did a study to study adults in transition, in career transition post-COVID. And we hired a consultant to help us look at some specific subsets of the Vista population. And one of the biggest statistics that I took away, well, there's a lot to it, but one of the things was that people in the last year, from mid-2021 to mid-2022, folks who did change jobs received a 10% increase in real wages. And real wages counts in inflation and all that. Right. Mm-hmm. People who stayed in their current job overall had a 2% loss in real wages. And so there's opportunity, like you say, when people want more, they need more, they're either going to leave to find more or they're going to band together to demand more. So it's really, really interesting. So, and the data is there. The data supports everything that you're saying.
And what you just said, so you lose in the short term through attrition.
Right.
And you lose long term because now you've kind of built up this environment where it's us against them. When longer term, it's us.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you ultimately benefit your bottom line, your customers, everything.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about your team. I know you mentioned Ty and Ari. Mm-hmm. So tell me, it's a 3-way partnership in your organization. So tell me kind of what do each of you do?
Got it. So, so I'm going to talk about the real brains behind the operation, those two. Ty handles like all of our marketing. So whether that's, online marketing, socials, she's our website, which is going through a fantastic redesign. It's about to launch here in December. It looks really good. They really kind of more clearly articulate our services, what we do, the value propositions we talked about for both job seekers and businesses. All of that is in her purview. And so ultimately raising the awareness of our brand, that's what she's handling. Ari is the scientist on our team. So he's the PhD, IO psychology, which is the industrial organizational psychology. It gets into the science of work. So he's been, doing work, for a number of years now, working with workforce development centers, working with businesses, doing consulting projects, that kind of stuff, teaching in academia. So he really understands the science behind, if I hate to just kind of simplify it, happiness, right, at work, if I kind of term it that way. So he's the science piece of it, and it's integral in terms of developing our proprietary assessment. So what questions should we ask, right? If we obviously that's geared with feedback from a number of different, frontline folks as we develop these questions and getting their feedback on those questions, things like that. But how do we do it? How do we measure? Do we use a 5-point Likert scale versus 7-point Likert scale?
Mm-hmm.
What do we consider to be favorable versus unfavorable? So all that measurement and the science behind it, that's really all Ari, right? He's also got kind of the operations piece of it, which is like we've got a couple of assessments going on right now. So you got to administer the surveys, right? You've got to keep it anonymous. We've got to have the timeline that we work through. How do we, we're different too because we also carve out a separate survey just for the frontline manager. And that's because in our experience, the frontline manager is one of the most critical roles within the business.
They're so squeezed.
They're so squeezed from the top and from the bottom. So we want to carve out their experience. So managing all of that, so the frontline manager responses versus the employee staff responses, we have a point of contact within the businesses. That's all kind of what we consider our operations piece of it. So he's got that too. And then now we've brought on someone to kind of help us with the technology.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because so things we need to automate that process. Right now it's kind of a little bit more manual than I would like. So we're working to automate a lot of that because demand is picking up, which is a good thing.
That's a great thing.
And ultimately, we do envision that one day everybody will work for a frontline friendly company. So in order for us to realize that vision, we're going to have to do a lot of growth. And so we want to automate a lot of the stuff that we do today. But that's really the team. So you've got the science, you've got the marketing, right? And I generally deal more with the sales piece of it, but, we are a really good team, I think, partly because we've known each other for years. Obviously, Ty's my better half, and I've known her for a very long time. But I've also known Ari for a really long time. And before I left corporate America, we would always just have kind of philosophical discussions about work and, how it could be better. So I know his heart, right? And I know Ty's heart. And so I know the heart of this team. And so, Ty even has a saying that she used back in her nonprofit days working with schools, right? That one of her mentors told her then, like everything they did had to come back to a kid in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to say internally, kind of the flip side of that is everything we do needs to come back to a frontline employee.
Yeah.
Right. And we all share that, us three.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great to work with people that you trust,
Yes.
that you care about, and you have a shared vision. You're all rowing the boat in the same direction, and you have, and there's a lot of things that come more naturally and easily when you work with a team that you trust like that. So that's great. That's great. And I'm sure that shines through as you work together and as you get through these assessments. And, when someone comes in to evaluate your company, if they are dysfunctional or have weird stuff happening, then that's going to impact the results. So it's nice to know that you're a well-oiled machine with regard to your team. So that's great. So, I wanted to just kind of share a little bit. I know that you and I've been talking about ways that we can partner.
Yep.
That,
Very excited.
I'm 100% so excited about the work that you do and celebrating Vista Chamber members that are good to their employees and are good to their frontline workers. And so I'm excited about our partnership.
Me too, yeah.
And so we're excited to share that, Vista Chamber members, they get a special deal when they want to do the frontline assessment. And then we're going to find ways to celebrate those companies on our website, through our magazine, having them featured on our podcast. So really excited. So people should check out our website for some cool announcements when we launch this episode. I know we're still working on some final details as we talk today, but by the time this episode is out, we'll hopefully have everything nailed down so that we can really help to celebrate all of the frontline certified companies and those just going through the process too. I think it's really great. So I'm excited to work with you on that.
I am super excited about this because, again, set aside just the business, right? Of the certification and things like that. What I love about this chamber, right? And you guys, the Vista Chamber of Commerce was the first chamber we joined.
Woohoo!
right? But not only that, it's just and we talk a lot about the concept of net weaving versus networking.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is all about, it's not about what's in it for me, but how can I help other people and help other members of the chamber and stuff like that. You practice it, right? And it's real. And that's been our experience. So I know from just my interaction with other businesses and other people within the Vista community that doesn't stop with you. It's also with other business, owners. And I guess what I'm saying is it's a special chamber, right? You were the start for Frontline Careers, and who better to partner with than this chamber, who is all about not just in talk, but really in practicing kind of what you preach, helping businesses. You came to us with this idea.
I did, yeah.
And it's a fantastic idea. And I love how, what you're thinking about is you do have here in the Vista community a lot of businesses that are doing it the right way. Let's showcase them. And even if you're not quite there, I can absolutely attest to, just from the business owners I've talked to, a desire to get there, right? So I think we can make this, I know this will be a win-win-win, right? So the chamber businesses, Frontline Careers, and I guess another big win is Frontline employees.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. I love working with you, and every time we have a conversation, I'm just have more ideas and I'm more inspired, and it's great the work that you're doing, and I'm so glad that we get to be part of your growth and just being here from the beginning. Like we're going to be in the trenches with you, celebrating these companies and celebrating these employees and making connections too.
Yeah.
I mentioned this workforce development study that we did where we are trying to connect Vista residents to companies that are great places to work. And so the data that came from this study was really part of what had me thinking about, how could we partner? How could we partner to kind of connect all those dots? So I'm just so thankful and excited about this opportunity, and hopefully our members are listening and will jump on board as well and be part of it. So it's great. So I want to ask you about mental health and stress management, because I know this is something important to you.
Yeah.
And I just I know we're kind of changing gears a smidge, but want to ask you kind of, why is stress management and your mental health, why is it so important to you personally, and why is it something that you champion in the work that you do?
Oh, that's a really good question. And, I recently spoke about this topic, and I'm a little bit more open about it now, from a mental health perspective. Because it's been a long time now, a little over 16 years ago, I lost my dad to suicide, right? And I think through that experience, and you bottle some things up, but then as I started to get older and further along and just in your career, the more stresses that you start to take on, right? Both just whether that's at home or whether that's just at work, is just life just becomes extremely stressful. And so one of my big takeaways from my dad and what happened there was that when I got to my breaking point, forget the physical manifestation of that, i.e. the stroke, right? The mental side of that, like I knew you got to do something, right? So the reason why it's so important to me is I have now realized I'm on the receiving end of that, on the other end of it, how much investing in my mental health has helped me, right? Has helped me grow and move in a different way, kind of the rest of, hopefully, the back end of my life, right? And how it's just been helpful me in dealing with certain situations in ways that I would not have been able to deal with them before. But it was all because, I made that choice to invest in my mental health, right? Through, seeing a therapist and stuff like that. But I still come across so many people, right, who are struggling, right? And one thing that I feel is we're getting a lot better at in this country is having these open conversations like you and I are having about mental health, and removing the taboo about going and talking with someone. You go and you see a physical, therapist, you go and you see a doctor and things like that. It is absolutely not just therapeutic, but potentially life-changing to go and talk with someone when you're dealing with the stresses, whether that's at home in your relationships with your, spouse or kids or at work, right? It absolutely is critically important. And I've talked about this recently on a different show. Suicide is like one of the leading causes of death in kids, right? And still, even in some of the older age groups too. And it's, I wouldn't say completely preventable, but there's so much more that we could be doing about it. And so for me, mental health is so important because, number one, I have a personal loss related to that still deal with to this day.
Right.
But I've also seen how it's affected me investing in my mental health and helped prepare me for the ups and downs of launching a startup and things like that, other things tragedies and things that you encounter in life, how I have been more well prepared for that and can deal with it. And so I think more people need to be equipped in that way. And so the more conversations we have on it, the more we remove the stigma around mental health. And I think the more people that we can help, because I guarantee you walk out this door, there are people who are quietly suffering.
100%.
Right?
Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that. And, I also am a firm believer in the power of therapy and taking care of your mental health and whatever that looks like for people. So for some people, mental health means taking time for exercise or taking time for mindfulness practice, or there's so many things that that can be supportive of your mental health. But I definitely think therapy is an important piece of it. And I wish more people would talk about it, because really it, like you said, you go to the doctor when you're sick, you go to a physical therapist when you have to fix your knee or whatever.
And no one questions it.
Nobody ever bats an eye. And we really do need to normalize and destigmatize taking care of our mental health. And I especially want to say thank you too, because I know for men in particular, it's even harder to say and to speak out about it. There's this, I'm from the South, you're from Texas, we're both from Texas. I know that, talking to my dad and saying, Dad, maybe you should talk to a counselor, therapist. Oh, no way, no way. I mean,
hell no.
I'm strong. I'm not going to, but it's not about strength. It's not. It's about tools. It's about having tools that you go to school to learn. Mm-hmm. You're not born knowing everything. You're not. And you go to school to learn academics. You go to training to learn how to do your job. Why wouldn't you go to a therapist to have other tools to navigate your mental health? Right. So I just, I know it was a little bit of a segue from the previous part of our conversation, but it's so important. And it's just really it's not really a segue, because it's such an underlying piece of how we work with ourselves and with other people. I'm really sorry about the loss of your dad. I didn't know that. But kudos to you for addressing it and for sharing about that, because it's really, being vulnerable and sharing about our personal struggles makes it okay for someone else to seek the help that they need. And I really appreciate that.
Well, like I said before, I feel that if it was commonplace just to, like you said, especially being in the South, right? And especially as you look back at what it was like to grow up in the 50s and the 60s and things like that, and how we've traditionally defined what strength looks like, right? And how that's personified. If that was different, I think not only would my dad still be here, but a lot of people would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I want to ask you about being a Cali Texan. So other than some of the stigmas around being a tough guy, what are some things, so I know you live here in California. I got to ask you. Yeah, I love living here too.
Love it.
In January 23rd, it'll be 20 years for me living here.
Nice.
So
we're going on 7 now.
7, okay. Yeah. So I have to ask you about Texas foods. What Texas food item do you miss that you just can't find it here the way it is in Texas? Do you have anything specific that jumps out?
Oh, there's several.
Yeah.
There's several. Okay, so I miss my barbecue.
Yes.
I mean, I've had some stuff that's close, but it's just not the same.
So there's some really great barbecue.
There's some good,
but it's not the same as Texas barbecue.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not the same.
And it kind of goes to Tex-Mex.
Yes.
Now, I know a lot of people here will frown on some Tex-Mex, especially, what is this queso stuff you guys like?
Oh my gosh, queso. I love queso. I know.
I miss it. And so I go to a lot of different places and it's like, I can never find a queso. So I've just kind of given up on it, Ty makes a really good queso and dip and stuff like that. But I miss absolutely the barbecue and the queso.
Those are my top two. And Tex-Mex.
Yeah, Tex-Mex. Yeah, just Tex-Mex and queso
barbecue.
Kind of falls into that.
And since I've lived here for 20 years, I found barbecue I like. I found Mexican food I like. I found
we need to talk then.
Lots of things I like, but it's not the exact same. It's just like, I don't know if maybe I just opened my palate up to other experiences that are good. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I still have not found, I have found cheese dips, but I haven't found like the perfect Tex-Mex queso.
Yeah.
It's hard.
But I will say, love Cali.
Yes,
love California.
100%.
Love the people.
This is my home now.
Yeah, it's my home too.
Yeah.
Love the people. Love just the environment here. Where else can you go? You're at the beach here. You can go to the mountains. You've got so much stuff, there's so much going on. I love everything about Cali.
Me too. And I need Ty's queso recipe, please.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. If she'll share it.
Oh, she'll share it.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for being here. I want to get to our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So I close every interview.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I close every interview with a few questions I ask everyone. So the first is, tell me a book you think that everyone should read or listen to if they do, audiobooks.
It is my favorite book, and I guess we can edit that. I don't want to curse on your show, but it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F***
Okay.
by Mark Manson.
Okay.
It is my favorite book. And it really talks, we talked about, it plays into mental health, but it plays into work, just how you view and approach life, right? The title's a little bit misleading because it's not like you just walk around not caring about it. That's not what it's about. It's really about the old adage of focus on what you can control.
100%. That's so wise. Okay, I'm putting it on my list immediately. I have not read this book.
It is. That book was kind of like a game changer book for me. And there's so many examples in there, just like other little things about how sometimes we have that tendency to compare ourselves to other people. There's a great story in there about a rock star. I don't want to ruin the book for you.
I'm immediately reading it. Immediately.
It's really good. It's really good.
Okay, that's great. Okay, tell me a song. You've got to turn it up. It could be maybe even just what's your favorite today. But
man,
tell me a song that you love.
I turn up all my music. Full disclosure. But I love all kinds of music, from old school kind of R&B, Marvin Gaye, Al Green, even some Sade, like smooth stuff. High school, Outkast, greatest rap group of all time.
Okay.
If you ever heard of Outkast. And I even like some of the, the newer stuff, but I will say this, Steve Lacy, love him. Went to a concert with my daughter for that one recently. But I would say there's probably one song that has kind of special meaning for us. Like and that would be It Feels Good, Tony, Tony, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
It feels good. So
I can immediately just start hearing it in my head.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably a song I would go to because it's kind of a weird, I'm going to say a weird story, but a little bit side story to that real quick. So kids love watching a cartoon show called Rick and Morty.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So there was an episode where they're playing a song and they started getting into it. And we're like, oh, that feels good. Tony, Tony, Tony. And so now it's kind of become like a family song. So we were all like, when we went to Hawaii recently or this summer, we're sitting there outside waiting on the Uber playing It Feels Good, all of us dancing. It's kind of like a family song now. So I would say It Feels Good, Tony, Tony, Tony.
That's great. I love it.
That's a good pick-me-up song. No matter what you're doing, it feels good.
You can't be in a bad mood.
Yeah, you can't be in a bad mood.
No. That brings back memories of like late middle school, maybe early high school dances for me.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like getting down. Okay. Tell me something that inspires you.
Ooh, that inspires me. I would say I find inspiration from just a lot of times just everyday stuff, but really just hearing the stories of other people who've overcome obstacles, right? That inspires me. When I hear, people overcome this setback to whether achieve this or reach this kind of state in their life, they've moved past it. That stuff inspires me. but also just everyday, sometimes everyday people. I was thinking about this last night. So I'm at my son's basketball practice, and the coach comes in. He's a high school coach, so he's coaching his high school team. Has 6 kids. Right?
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot of kids. I had 3. Has 6 kids. Coaching high school team. Coaching not 1 but 2 AAU teams. Running all over the place. Right. So here's someone, and he's always smiling, good with the kids. He pushes them, but this is someone who's doing so much, but he's enjoying what they're doing. Right. That's inspiring to me.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes I think we look for inspiration in these grandiose places, when if you just take the time to pause, you can find inspiration everywhere. But when I see people overcoming obstacles, or I see people like that are clearly have a lot on their plate, but they're making it work and they're enjoying it, that's inspirational.
That's great. I love that. I love a good story of resilience. Resilient people are so inspiring, and also people who just are living their best life.
Yes.
Like no matter what comes their way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. All right. Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a Vista business that you think deserves a shout out.
Oh, man. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to give you 2.
Okay. I'll let you.
I'll be remiss if I didn't recognize Zeke and yourinsuranceplace.com. I mean, when I talk about somebody who's been extremely helpful for us as a business, like you, like the Vista Chamber, that seems to know everybody, this is someone I think that does a lot for the community, right? And so definitely want to acknowledge yourinsuranceplace.com and Zeke and, Bill Corley, that team. But and the other one, though, would be Little Cakes.
Yeah.
Right down the street. Fantastic cupcakes, obviously.
Yum.
And they've been recognized for those nationally. But I think Don is just a good person, right? Having now had the opportunity and the pleasure to get to know him better, and not just because he's our first, and Little Cakes is our first, Frontline Friendly certified business. Set all that aside, I'm just a good person, a good business, good product. So definitely want to acknowledge and recognize Little Cakes.
That's great. I fully support that one. Don's been a guest on the show as well.
Right.
And just a great person, great guy. And I don't know if when you talk about people in Vista just doing what's right and doing things for the right reasons, I think of him immediately. He just comes to the top in that regard. So great. I fully support your recommendations there and for your shout out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been a great conversation. I hope you had a good time. It was nice chatting with you.
I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much to our guest, Jason, and thank you for listening to Velocity. If you like what you heard, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and tell a friend. Help us move Vista forward with Velocity. The Vista Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit organization that serves as a catalyst for business growth. Visit us online at vistachamber.org.